Hey, it's Nathan speaking. Welcome to the NH Fitness Lifestyle channel, and on this live video is going to be an open chat about men's mental health, and this is 5 ways to boost your mood in an instant. And I'm saying this because these are go-to things you can do to get you out of that mood you may be in. I was on that particular state just on the weekend, so I thought it was quite raw for me to share this today, and that's why I scheduled this in. Also, last week was Mental Health Week in the UK, and of course all around the world there's different weeks which obviously helps promote the awareness of mental health, and in particular for men, they're the ones who are struggling more right now. There's a lot more men out there, which good news is are opening up, but there's still a bit of a stigma out there about obviously men with mental health, and it is out there and it's about managing it. And for myself, I'm someone who had to work on it a number of years, and I've got better and better as I've developed, which is what I'm going to discuss on this one. Before going into the go-to, I'm going to kind of set some ongoing things what I have to do to develop it and to get better and better. And these also improve your life, because this improves relationships around you, it improves you to do things and move forward in your life. So there's lots of factors in it, which I'm going to give you certain things which has really helped me, and also hopefully either one of you are listening today and it sort of resonate with you to do anything. If you may be someone like myself who have suffered with mental health, and obviously there is a way out, you will get better at it. There'll still be stages where you may be presented with certain challenges, but if your mindset's better, you'll be on a better standpoint to deal with certain things. And that's why I thought today I'll chat openly about this. So I want to start with number 1, because again, whether you're aware of it or not, I believe number 1 for me in particular is my self-preservation. So how people see me, how I see myself, I want to make sure that is on check for me most days, and that might be in terms of your hygiene, how you dress, your hair, a certain length, obviously skin, whatever it may be. That is important for me, and I think for most people, either you don't realise there's certain levels where that is an importance, because that's your identity. So that's the first thing which I feel I need to continuously work on to help me feel that on me, that self-preservation. Even having a haircut like I did the other week made a massive boost for myself. So obviously I want to go into that, and again there's a little story with this one, how much I felt it meant to me, and it was kind of like that light bulb moment for me. Around about 17 I was outside, it was January, and I was with my friend, and there was this couple of girls we just met, and it was really bad outside. And obviously around about 17 years of age we used to socialise outside, and one of the girls, her name was Katie, she said, why don't we chill out at my house? And we went, yeah sure, let's do that. So anyway, we went to outside the house, and there was a dog barking really loud. And by the way, this is actually written in one of my books which is out soon, and I didn't think anything of it really. And obviously they put the dog to one side, we went in the house, and anyway the mother said, why don't you say hello to the dog? It'll be completely fine when it sees you. I'll give you some biscuits. So she give me some biscuits in my hand, and then the dog come out, sniffed the biscuits, and then boom, it went for my face instead. Now I leaned back and it caught my lip, and you might, I don't know if you can see that, but the lip was literally ripped in half. It was teared right under, and everyone was panicking, and obviously I got after me going a bit hyper, obviously being in shock, I said, look, let's just get me to the hospital. So anyway, we went to the hospital, and a little bit of humour, I showed a picture to the nurse and said, this is what I used to look like, and a bit of gesture just to make myself in the moment sort of get over it. Anyway, she'd done 10 stitches, but really the recovery from that was around about 2 years. The lip wasn't the same for a bit, I had a reaction, I had puffy eyes, but what was interesting was the mind shift, that when I was walking around the street I was automatically mind reading other people. I was going, oh, they're probably looking at my lip saying I've got a hair lip. I was thinking all sorts of things, because I didn't feel right in myself because obviously this lip. And that made me realise for the first time, obviously over time it's healed, and then I started looking after my appearance more. And that moment when that happened, and obviously recovery, is when I realised how much self-preservation meant to me, and I'll never take that for granted again. and that's what's led to me to look after myself. So self-preservation is huge. And the next one, which I think is important, is your self-standards. Understanding what your standards are, your values and beliefs, because when you understand what they are, you then will naturally share that with others. Even if you don't realise, you have your standards, and then obviously certain people will come towards you or go away from you, because obviously it's that sort of law of attraction. So I think getting your standards right is key as well, and I think that's key. And then the other thing with that is, with your standards, it's understanding how you speak to yourself. There's a lot of people who, and again I think this is going to be a subject on its own, but it's changing certain wordings, like saying things like, if you make a mistake, how do you speak to yourself? How do you deliver that message? Because for me it's all about learning and getting feedback, not necessarily about a mistake. But do you beat yourself up and go, oh, you did it again, why did you do that, you're stupid? Or do you say, okay, how can I improve that? See, this is an open statement, how you can improve that moment. So these are just these are other subjects alone, but I'm just setting the scene here. So again, number 1, self-preservation, self-standards, and number 3 is having people around you. So who's having the right people surrounded with you is going to influence you as well. I mean, in fact, I remember I actually wrote this down because I know at the back of my hand this quote, but I didn't remember who it come from. But you're the average of the top 5 people you spend the most time with, and that was by Jim Rohn. And I think that's really important to understand that, because having the right people around you not only will help your mindset, but it'll help you sort of develop. Because obviously you can get people who reciprocate and just agree with you, which isn't necessarily a good thing. And you want people who's going to be honest with you and sort of challenge you, So these are certain things. So number 1, self-preservation. 2, self-standards is huge. And number 3, your relationship with others. In fact, there's that saying, to have the best relationship with others starts with a relationship with yourself. And I love this little image which I've actually got here, which I'm just going to bring up on the screen. If I can find, is this. So I'm going to bring that up. About the conscious being 10%. And the unconscious being 90%. Because the reason why this is important, again, these things are ongoing practices you need to do, because that will seep into your subconscious, and that ultimately will be what you're doing involuntary, what you're doing without even thinking about it. The language you're speaking to yourself, self-preservation. These are things what you automatically will end up doing. But guess what? Most things start with your conscious. That's where you have to change, because that's the 10%. So I found that was really important. I really like that diagram, because that really illustrates that point, that we're only control of 10%. So we have to make sure we get the right data in. It's huge. And I had something which recently happened lately where certain people around me made their decisions and I could have reacted in a way. And I didn't. I held back. Had to think about it. And obviously what's important to understand is, like we discussed here, is understanding your map of the world. But when there's things happen around you which you have no control of, or people do something to you, or you think they do something to you, or them do an action which affects you, just first thing to do is to reflect back on what is their actions and why have they done it, on what's their positive outcome on it. Because most of the time, that if you do get hurt by someone, most of the time they haven't intentionally done it. So that's what I think is really important. And in fact, my mate Chris actually, the other week said, this is something you're really good at, is that you don't react on impulse anymore. You will hold back and you'll reflect on the situation before you go forward. And the reason why I'm bringing my phone up is because there is a book I actually would recommend you go towards this. It's called The Chimp Paradox. I don't know if you've ever listened to this book or you've heard of it, but I'm just going to bring up the author for The Chimp Paradox, because obviously it's huge. It was by the author Steve Peters. Because obviously with that one, that's all about the emotional part of your brain, which is your chimp. And you're never going to be able to, if you think in reality, the chimp is 5 times stronger than you. You're never going to be able to beat it. But what you have to do with your human brain, which is your logical, and the unconscious, your subconscious, which is the computer, is to do the right things over time to manage that chimp, that impulse, alright? And I was playing golf with mate Chris the other week, and we were a little bit slow, and the ones behind us were better golf players than us. But they obviously got a little bit annoyed because what I was doing is filming little bits. So anyway, they asked, can we go in front of you? And my mate Chris's reaction was like, no, we're alright. It was the people in front of us which is slow, not us, sort of thing. So there was a reaction there, and automatically then the guys, obviously it triggered them, and they said, well, you shouldn't be using your phones. And then Chris went, well, like I said, we were just waiting for these people in front. Anyway, so I went in and said, look, how about we just let them in front, Chris? And he went, all right, if they're going to whinge about it, sort of thing. Anyway, we let them in front. I had time to reflect on it because I could have went on impulse, but I managed to hold back. And I thought, to diffuse it, let them go ahead. They done a great shot. I said, oh, well, and anyway, Chris went, I don't know how you do that. And I just said to him, it's just developing. I was one of these people who used to just go straight away, just snap. And I can honestly say developing these things has really helped. Which is now going to go into the 5 things, or the 5 ways how I get over that feeling of feeling sad. And, when I have them odd days, which Sunday was, and I think that is a reflection of lots of things going on. Other things, change could be another thing which may trigger. There's lots of these things which kind of puts me in that state. But the first thing what I always do, which I think really helps, is number 1, is do a form of conscious breathing, where you just breathe in for 3, breathe out for 3. Because that's the first thing what you can do to change your state, to make you feel calm. Automatically with me doing that, as you can see and you can feel, I've automatically started slowing down. So again, as you would have seen as well, I put my hand on my belly button and then I breathe out. Now automatically just makes me feel calm. Now the other thing I do is I do a form of meditation. Now I struggle doing my own meditation, so I've actually got an app called Headspace, which I've downloaded, and I'll incorporate that in if I do some sort of stretch. I just put that on and allow myself to switch off, and I'll get guided through a meditation. So I think that is something which I've worked on over the years. Certainly the conscious breathing has been absolutely brilliant to get me calm, and it just calms me down and sort of changes my physiology in an instant. So I'd say that's number 1 action you can do in an instant, okay, to really make you feel a bit better, to boost your mood in the moment. Number 2, which might be an obvious one, but exercise. It boosts endorphins, releases dopamine, and it allows you to switch off. On Sunday I felt that way, so I got myself out and I actually went physically to the gym. I went on a cross trainer, and that really helped as well, just reflect my thoughts and clear my mind, just made me switch off. So I'd say that's another way of instantly just boosting my mood. And again, because it boosts out endorphins, releases dopamine, it really does help you. And you've probably been there before where you've done that and you thought, you know what, I feel so much better. And if you don't do that, you almost think, when the next time you exercise, you think, well, I don't do that before, because it always makes you feel good, doesn't it? Again, it's just that moment, isn't it, of getting you there in the first place. And if you can just give that cue of how much better you're going to feel after. And I reflected this actually on my 4-week transformation video, so you may want to check that out. I'll leave that in the description. And then number 3, which you kind of can do this as a double whammy really, change of scenery. Now if it's not exercise, like I said, physically going to the gym, it could be going out for a walk, it could be even, when we were on lockdown in the UK, I literally just went in my car, went on a drive-through and got a coffee, and it was mad. It was just the fact of getting me out, change of scenery, change of environment was another way of doing that. Now that could be changing to a different room, it could be anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be that you physically have to go out. It could be just changing the environment you're in, because that instantly changes your state. Either if you're sitting down, slouching, just changing that motion will make a difference, alright? So that's another way to do that. And again, next one, which I think is a really good one, is listen to audio. Could be audible, like I mentioned about the chimp paradox, could be a podcast. Again, you want to listen to things which is going to have a positive vibe, and things where you're going to sort of embed and go into your unconscious. Remember, when you switch off and you're listening to this sort of stuff, it will seep into your unconscious, which will make a big difference. And again, it can change your mood, it can make you feel inspired, motivated, all these things which can snap you out of a way you're feeling. In fact, when I'd go and do the cardio, again, I can listen to this sort of stuff as well. So again, in a way that can be free of them, couldn't it? Because that can change your scenery. That obviously will get your exercise in. You're also doing a form of meditation because obviously you're switching off and running something else in your head, and also you're listening to something and absorbing something positive. Again, things like news, anything negative, try to switch away from, try to focus on stuff which is going to have a positive vibe, which is going to really help boost your mood. And then number 5 is reflect and review your goals. I think that's huge. In fact, I've done a video on vision board, which I thought was, again, have a look at that one. And I'm going to actually, just if you hold that 1 second, I'll show you my first book, because I actually have that right here, which is just in here. 1 sec. Body and Goal, Realise Your Fitness Potential. That could be a good one to have a look at. A little bit transparent due to the background, but as you can see, that is my book, and it's got all about setting and reviewing your goals, and it's got about languages, how you can change the way you think in an instant. Like I said, a good little question to ask yourself is, would you speak to others how you speak to yourself? And if the answer is no, is, well, change the way you speak to yourself. And there's a little quote actually, which I love this one, is be careful what you say to yourself, because you are always listening. So remember that one. I thought that was absolutely great in terms of that. And I just want to reflect on how I would normally deal with things. I'm just going to take that back off, because there is a bonus one which I feel was really important, which I'm leaving just in a sec. Verbalise, not internalise, or don't internalise, is really important. Now, like I said before, would have went on off impulse, which you don't want to do that. You do want to step back and reflect on it and internalise it. But what's important not to do, which I see people doing, is to bottle things up. Because the moment you bottle things up, it has to come out somewhere. And guess what? It would normally come out when you least expect it and you don't want it to. So it could be you end up taking out on someone you love and they haven't done anything wrong, but you've just taken out on them because obviously they're there and you haven't dealt with that emotion, so you've reflected it onto something else, and that makes you feel bad, and that is a reflection on your standards, which makes you feel bad as well. And the other end of that is, if you don't speak out, then also you then will not deal with the issue. Yeah, it's just going to carry on and carry on. So yes, in terms of the verbalise, just like the chimp paradox, hold back first and reflect on it. Structure it in a way which is going to serve, not obviously hinder anything going on impulse, but it is important to speak. So it's almost verbalise versus internalise, not necessarily don't internalise, because you need to just, it's that balance of the two basically. So you want to make sure you get it right on both parties. And like I said, I went from both extremes. I used to verbalise too much, or I used to just come out of things and afterwards I used to regret it. But the other end of that, I used to do the opposite, where I used to internalise it, and I used to almost block my emotions out. And people used to be like, oh, he's got no emotions, he's like a robot, you know, and then it would come out elsewhere, which is what you don't want to be doing. Which leads on to the bonus one, which I think is the most important. I certainly realise this is the most important this week, and that is speak to the right person. So you must have some people you really trust around you, whereas you might be having some reflection in your head. Who can you speak to get an honest opinion, who's not going to let you get away with things, but also is going to give you that support, what you need? And a good little task to do, because I really needed this, is grab yourself a pen and maybe write down 3 people who you think you can honestly trust, turn to, who's going to give you their honest opinion, and again, not give you what you want to hear, but give you what you need to hear. That's what's important. Are they going to be honest enough to say, you know what, and call you out on it? Because obviously that's the key. That's the good friends. That's the ones who you want to be around you. So try to write down 3 people, because again, as much as you don't realise, having people around you is really important when you're feeling that way and you need that support. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. I certainly liked just sharing my thoughts, because I said this is raw to me recently, because I have had a little wobble, and it made me realise how much I rely on this type of stuff to help me get out of it. And like I said, this week I feel so much better, and I just want to say thank you very much for listening to me all the way through. And of course, I'm going to bring up this button right here. If you haven't already done so, make sure you subscribe, hit that bell button, and of course, if you haven't done them two things as yet, then obviously give us a like. Yeah, make sure you like it as well, that'd be fantastic. And yeah, I'm going to go there, leave it there, and please leave some comments. Let me know what sort of content you'd like me to post. Did you like this live video? What sort of live would you like to see or like me to speak about in the future? And hopefully I'll see you, well, you'll be back next week. Okay, thank you very much. Speak to you soon.